Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast. Introducing your host from New York, here is Sam Roberts.
Well, welcome, Johnny Mundo. Mundo. Yeah, that's the accent, right?
Johnny Mundo. It's a lucha thing.
Right. It was very. It sounded very gringo just now.
Yeah. They beat you up if you say Mundo in Mexico, right?
Mundo.
And Taya, is that Taya? Taya?
Yes,
that's
it's
fine,
Taya
right?
is correct. Yeah.
Not like Taya or something.
No, it's Taya.
All right,
You're saying
good.
it right.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Yes, a lot's going on. Lucha Underground Season 2. This is pretty quick for a Season 2 to be starting already. There's got to be a lot of faith in this show on El Rey.
Obviously, why wouldn't there be? Come on now.
Right?
I think it's one of the most successful shows that El Rey's had, and season 1 was critically acclaimed and loved by fans. And not only is it fast to be starting season 2, we're almost finished taping season 2.
Yeah,
This weekend is our last
weekend,
taping.
Yeah.
What's that like for both of you, really? Because you both, and really everybody on the roster, but everybody on the roster is not here. You two are here. For
That's the most important part.
to tape a wrestling show by seasons like that, like it's formatted like a traditional
Like a regular television show, as opposed to a wrestling show that would tape, weekly.
But honestly, every week forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think it really, it's intense. It's like a lot of hard work, and it's physically demanding, mentally demanding. But we tape for 2 episodes to 3 episodes and on a night. Like last time we shot 3 on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So it can get pretty stressful. But you know what? This is what we love to do, and I think that it just gets all of it out all at once, and I think we're just so excited to share what we've done with the fans and all the loyal fans from season 1, and actually create new fan base in season 2.
It also provides us with the opportunity to have something that every other TV show and sporting team has, and that's an off season. I mean, we can take the time to watch stuff back and enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and also, I mean, just in terms of maintaining your bodies. I mean, obviously, a lot of the roster wrestles.
And our minds.
And your minds, yeah.
And our
brains.
sanity, yeah. Like a lot of things.
Like a lot of people wrestle throughout the year, but then it becomes their choice. Do you think that...
I use this metaphor sometimes to explain, like, if you're on if you're with WWE and you're on the road, you're doing your 200, 250 shows a year, you could say it's almost like being in a casino. You know what I mean? Like they're pumping in the oxygen, the lights, it's always bright. You're like, what time is it? What
There's
month
no
is it?
clocks or windows anywhere.
No.
Holy shit, I'm 35. Oh my God, no. How did that happen? My whole wrestling career. But you lose track of everything. And like with the off season, you get a chance to reflect on what you did for a past season, marinate and think about things to improve, and also heal up mentally, physically, and be ready to go again.
Do you think that there's any way that WWE could ever implement an off season?
If they wanted to, easily.
They just wouldn't, is what you're saying.
No, I mean, I think it would. They would just have to change the way they did things. In wrestling, I've learned never say never. I don't know. They could
Things
if they
can
wanted
change
to.
at any time.
Right. Yeah.
So you never know what could happen, but we're happy that we are run this way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then it allows you to do more things, and you can come back to it, and you actually appreciate it.
Exactly.
We can do stuff like
I work
be out
full time
here
I work full time in Mexico for Lucha Libre AAA.
Right.
So I don't really get that lovely off season that you're talking about. I'm in full casino mode all the time.
Well, the potential is there.
The potential is there.
I
Yes.
guess you have to leave Mexico, though.
Yeah.
Right.
And who would want to leave Mexico City?
Taya, how did you end up? You didn't intend to live in Mexico.
No, I don't think that anybody really plans on living in downtown Mexico City, but that is just how wonderful, how crazy life is, really.
Right.
If you're from Mexico City and you're listening to this, no offense.
No offense.
I also love that she was like, that's how wonderful, well, not wonderful, crazy life is.
No, it's just how life happened for me. And honestly, I'm super grateful. Mexico totally changed my life and changed my career, honestly.
Yeah.
And sent me in a completely different direction. I've learned so much about Lucha Libre and everything that it is. And I'm a far better wrestler for having done it the way I did, as opposed to, being sent to a school to study like they do in some other companies.
What was that like for you to start Lucha? Because you had a WWE development deal, is that right?
Yes, but that never actually happened. So we don't really like to talk
We've
about
been
it.
discussing this the last 2 days.
Is that right?
The whole story,
Yeah, no, like it was really one of those things where I was given a deal,
Right.
and then I, sent out all the paperwork, did all the stuff, and then it kind of got told that they didn't want me anymore.
Oh, so you didn't even like. You
I
had
didn't even
the
make it
deal.
there. I didn't even make it there.
Oh, see,
So-
because I figured like when you read it, it's like, oh, so she must have had, and then it just.
No, I was never even actually. They turned me. They accepted me and all this kind of stuff, and then they turned me down and didn't even give me a chance.
That's a nightmare.
I was mortified, horrified, super depressed and sad about it. But I mean, with everything, all those bumps in the roads and stuff, you kind of have to, either go right or go left. And I chose to go right and go upwards. And
Or downwards in this
or
case,
downwards
to
in
Mexico.
Mexico. I got the opportunity. Well, I got asked to
Just
go.
geographically speaking.
Yeah,
Geographically. South,
No,
I guess, is another way to say that.
I'm talking.
Okay, go. Continue.
I chose the road less traveled, and I definitely, went for it 120%. And, I went down there to train, and I ended up staying and got invited within my first 3 days by Paraguay, who actually was the wrestler that passed away last year.
Right.
He was my my brother. He's the first one that really believed in me, So after I had WWE tell me, they didn't want me anymore, I had that person that really believed in me along with Conan, and I, owe it a lot to them as to where I am today. Like if it wasn't for them believing in what Taya had the potential to be, I wouldn't be here.
Like, is that a quick lesson in not believing, especially in wrestling, not believing something until it's actually happening in front of you? Like they're saying this is happening, but until I walk in the building,
I had to learn that. I had to learn that the hard way, and it was really hard because obviously with anything in wrestling, it gets put all over the internet, and like everyone knows about it. So I mean, for me, it was just like my pride was like totally shot after that.
Right.
But you know what? I am a better wrestler, but I've learned so much about myself. I grew up a lot in the years that I've been in Mexico, learned another language, and now I'm super, super happy to be part of a project that I completely believe in, which is Lucha Underground.
And probably like the best part of her whole career is getting to work with Johnny Mundo.
Right, and now you get to show up on Lucha Underground.
Now look at that. Wow, I'm so honored.
Johnny Mundo on the Sam Roberts show.
I am just so honored.
It's really happening.
Doesn't
It's
get
all
better than this.
right.
It's a dream. It's a dream.
What about for Johnny Mundo when he has to leave WWE, when you leave WWE, because really that's where all of your wrestling had taken place. You go through Tough Enough, you go through their developmental, you end up on WWE TV, and then you leave and it's like you're in the world now and you've got all this experience,
right?
But you haven't really spent that much time outside of the WWE bubble,
and
right?
I totally, and I couldn't be happier for the experience and the chance to do that. And then originally I had neck surgery in 2011, and I intended to just maybe take like a year off. Mm-hmm. And I stepped away because I wanted to try doing some action movies and see what it was like outside WWE with some more control of my own time, creative autonomy, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And
the off season.
The off season. The off season. Right. The 4-year off season. Very long off season.
Right.
And it turned into me like realizing I kind of like being able to call the shots. And I did a bunch of movies. I've done like 11 little movies, and I wrote and produced and starred in like an action film that's going to come out next year called Boone the Bounty Hunter. Check it out on IMDb right now, Boone the Bounty Hunter. And ended up being perfectly situated to take part in Lucha Underground, which started last year in my hometown of Los Angeles.
So are you just a guy who like tries to fill the minutes in a day because now you don't have this kind of machine that's pushing you forward?
I would say completely the opposite. Like I find ways to take up more time than I ever have free. Like I'm either writing scripts or working out or like
Working out,
complete
making
like
protein
6-disc
shakes,
like
getting a tan,
functional training workout program that's on sale online, outofyourmindfitness.com if you're interested. So like I usually am really good at finding ways
to fill your time,
including making protein shakes.
Yeah,
you're right.
Avi.
Yeah.
Hello.
How did you? Because you have an amateur wrestling background, right?
Yes.
Like high school, college,
high
and stuff
school,
like
college.
that?
Yeah.
How do you move from that to like parkour? Because I was actually like, once I put in context, because when I first heard that, I was like, that doesn't really make sense. He's this aerial guy. But then I saw like you did something. I think it was in the Prince Puma match where you did this. It was a double leg takedown, but you were spinning at the same time. And I finally saw this kind of fusion that I hadn't noticed before of amateur wrestling.
It was a straight up. I mean, that was like a straight up double leg takedown on Puma.
But then you started spinning at the same time.
You know, he just likes to do these corkscrew
you do
rotations
exactly.
whenever he can.
It's true.
I've never seen a high schooler do a corkscrew.
Get a beer from the fridge, do a corkscrew.
It was a double leg takedown, but instead of taking him the way that you would take him in amateur wrestling, I turned it into a spinning spine buster.
Right.
But because it's pro wrestling and it looks cooler to do it.
Which way
And the
cooler.
lucha style,
Yeah, right.
the lucha style is, a combination of more athletic moves and flights and different things. So, I mean, I think that fits perfectly.
How did you get into doing parkour and things like that after amateur wrestling?
I was like Mr. Wrestling in high school, team captain. That's all I did. And then college, I wrestled 1 year, and I ended up hurting my knees, and I had 2 operations, and it was just enough to kind of bump me off the wrestling track. And I started doing everything: breakdancing, martial arts, and even I was on the gymnastics team at UC Davis. And I was planning on being a white Jackie Chan, I guess.
That was the plan.
I wanted to be Jackie Chan so bad.
Plan B, I'll be the white Jackie Chan.
What is that?
It sounded
so
good to
It's
my
so
19-year-old
good,
self. It
Right.
sounded like a smart move.
I am going to be the white Jackie Chan.
I just love to
I
do
still would love to be the white Jackie Chan.
At 19, you were living in this place mentally where you were like, well, I have to think realistically. I could be the white Jackie Chan. That is.
I could attend my geology classes.
Or.
So I started doing what Jackie Chan did. And Jackie Chan, I mean, he was doing parkour before the term parkour was coined. And I always went to the UCD rec hall with that in mind. Let me try to do some gymnastics, some breakdancing. Let me try to do some fight moves. And I started making kung fu movies in college. I made several.
Someone please find those kung fu movies.
I know.
I have them. They have them on VHS. The Foot of Death.
Oh, wow.
Kung Food, about a
Kung
fast
Food?
food restaurant.
Amazing.
That's very,
And,
very clever.
Those are the best too.
Yeah, you need to release Kung Food.
Well,
Maybe you
I
can
have
maybe-
it. I could put it on YouTube. At
You
least.
should put it on
Yeah.
YouTube.
I would help you promote that just because I think it's
I'm
so funny.
gonna dig up Kung Food.
Oh, amazing.
So you just go forward and you figure okay, amateur wrestling's not happening. I'm going to just learn all these Jackie Chan things and do flips off walls.
I was
and...
planning on being an action movie guy, like an action
And that
movie
has worked
producer
out.
actor.
There you go.
And it kind of came full circle because that's what the original plan was. And then in college when I was doing these kung fu movies, I
Right.
saw Tough Enough, and I was like, oh, that's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. And now that's how you do it. And I saw the guys on TV and thought to myself, dude, I'm way more like Jackie Chan than those guys.
just you're just looking for every place that doesn't have Jackie Chan. I could be the Jackie
I could
Chan.
be the Jackie Chan of Tough Enough. Couldn't I? I mean, and I tried out for Tough Enough 2, got rejected, and tried it again for Tough Enough 3.
Did you do any?
It
Did you
worked.
have any sort of pro wrestling background at all when you tried out for Tough Enough 2?
No.
No.
I hadn't
Gone to a
hadn't
school or anything?
gone to a school. It was for me just no one in my circle of friends had ever thought about being a pro wrestler.
Right.
I was a huge wrestling fan as a kid.
They were too busy with realistic goals like
Going
being
to college,
Jackie Chan.
White picket fence,
pre-law.
regular
Yeah.
stuff. Ugh.
Yeah.
Who wants that?
No.
I was coming home. My dad was telling me to study for the LSAT.
What?
He didn't say anything about training with Lance Storm in Calgary.
That's so weird.
Oh, that's what I did.
I know.
Oh, that's cool.
So you had no sort of, you just went to Tough Enough because you heard about it and you're like, I guess that's how you become a wrestler.
Yeah. And then in the in-between, between 2 and 3, I started training at a school called Supreme Pro Wrestling in Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
And I trained a little bit, and I started refereeing matches and going to their workouts and stuff. And then I got accepted to Tough Enough 3 and was up and running and off pretty quickly.
What's that period like? I always wonder that because I watched Tough Enough and then you would pop up here and there, like Johnny Nitro would be on for 2 weeks and then disappear, and over here, and then finally when Eminem debuts, it's that's now you get this run. But mentally, what's it like after you win Tough Enough for there just to be years of not
you
being
go
on
from
WWE
this
TV?
euphoric oh my god, I did it, I'm a pro wrestler, I'm gonna be on Raw, and then they're like, congratulations, pack up your car and move to Louisville. And then,
Right.
and then you go to Louisville and you spend 2-3 years wrestling in high schools and bingo halls and National Guard armories in front of 20-30 people, which is great because when I first got to Louisville, I sucked. Man,
You did?
Like, I really sucked.
Did you know you sucked, or you realized later that you sucked?
I realized pretty quickly that I sucked.
I see.
Because
I'm surprised. You think you're good at everything.
well, of course, when I got there, I did. But they like Rip Rogers and like the guys will let you know pretty quickly.
They filled you in
how bad you are.
I know, they never, like, wrestling coaches never hold back.
Yeah,
they
don't. They don't leave that up for interpretation.
No.
Sorry, kid, you're incorrect. You're actually
suck.
You
awful.
are awful.
Get out. Yeah.
Please stop doing that immediately.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So then did you look at it like, okay, did you want to be on TV right away after you realized you sucked? Or did you say, you know what, maybe I better stay here for a while until I don't suck anymore?
For sure. I wanted to get better and be good enough to be on TV, but the amount of time that I thought I needed to get better was not nearly as long as I spent
All right,
in
I'll
OVW.
I'll spend 6 months down here.
That's what I was like. I was
Yeah.
like 6 months. I was like, I'm a lot better now. I'm pretty good. And then 3 years later, I debuted.
Yeah. When do you feel like you were actually looking back at the point where you could have debuted? Probably not 6 months in, but probably before 3 years was up.
No, I think it was about right.
Really?
Yeah, like because I had a short stint as the apprentice Johnny Nitro,
Right.
as Eric Bischoff's apprentice,
Right.
and I was just kind of a talking role, and I wanted to be a wrestler so bad. I didn't realize like how great it is to just show up on Raw and talk and not take any bumps and
Right.
get the paycheck every week.
Just have a cool name that people remember.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything except talk.
You don't even have to bring your gear. You
No.
just show up in like a fancy suit. And
Yeah.
You're good to
mess
go.
around with a BlackBerry. That's how old that was. A BlackBerry pocket protector. I think that the way everything worked out for me is about right. I mean, if I didn't have the experience with OVW and M&M and all that time wrestling, I wouldn't have been nearly as successful as I was, and I wouldn't have been ready. And even at the time I debuted, I feel like I still was barely ready.
Everything happens for a reason. Look at that.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right. That's the way we look at it.
Mhm.
And I also have to imagine that when you do finally find out you're debuting for real as like Eminem and then John Morrison and all that, the amount so many guys come up and they just here's some tights and you'll be whatever John Hennigan and go up there and do your thing and you're like, what am I doing? And there's just nothing.
Right.
For you to come up and be fully packaged and have a gimmick and a manager and an entrance
fur
and
coats.
fur coats and all this
Oh
stuff.
man, and again, it was our creation too. I mean, I bought the first M&M fur coats I bought on Melrose for like $200. They're actually like leftover Burning Man jackets.
Really?
Yeah, and then they
Amazing.
started evolving from there.
Yeah.
we went through a phase where they wanted to not have Joey Mercury as part of M&M. They tried replacing him a couple different ways.
Who did they have?
Chris Cage or Kalen Croft they wanted
Uh-huh.
to use, who I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah.
But it just felt wrong because we'd spent all that time doing M&M with Joey.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I think everything happens for a reason, and my glass is always half full, even when it's all the way full, it's half full,
That's right.
if you know what I mean.
I was actually thinking about that. Do you ever regret making the choices of the outfits? Because it seems like now that you're kind of responsible for all your own stuff, your gear seems way more expensive than the average person.
there-
Like the coats, the
There's
tights.
been times when I've looked at like my storage unit and been like, if I traded what I paid for these coats,
Yeah.
I might have a house.
Yeah.
Or at least a Lamborghini.
Yeah. Because I look and it's like
that thought has crossed my mind.
right. But they're nice coats.
Yeah, they are
You
very
look
nice
sick,
coats.
Yeah.
so-
I do look dope. I feel confidence is way up.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Exactly.
When I'm
And-
wearing
Trying
the
to
coats.
keep up.
and
Trying
that's
to keep up.
priceless.
It's not
Confidence is priceless.
Confidence is priceless.
Right. So it's
I mean-
worth the investment.
If I had the coats here, it'd be perfect for the blizzard too.
Yes. Wouldn't that be great walking around in New York City blizzard in one?
Yeah.
In a John Morrison jacket?
Yeah, in a
Like-
John Morrison coat. Just with confidence.
We'll have
And
to come back.
the snow is moving in slow motion. Was that whose idea was that? The slow motion intros.
It was a combo of me, Stephanie, and one of the guys in the truck
Uh-huh.
that all put our heads together on this entrance.
That were just like we could do it slow motion live.
Yeah.
And
And then ended up like evolving and then adding the pyro and becoming this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I still think it's the coolest entrance that I've ever had.
Yeah. I mean.
And the only entrance that I've ever
Yeah, like, and what are
Yeah.
we comparing it to? What are we comparing it to?
It's the coolest entrance that I've ever had. Yeah.
By far, John Morrison's most famous entrance.
So I've listened to you talk about the stuff that you're doing in Lucha and how kind of proud you are of it, and how you feel like this is arguably some of your best stuff, especially the all-night match that you did last season.
Right.
When you have a match like that, is there any part of you that goes like, okay, Lucha, as diehard as the fan base is, and as much as it's grown, it's still this kind of subsect, right, of wrestling fans. When you have a match like that, do you get over the initial euphoria and then go like, but what if I'd been able to have that match in front of 70,000 people or blah, 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 or does that not occur to you?
That thought definitely crosses my mind.
It does.
Yeah. But it's also coupled with the idea that how cool would it be if that match is part of what gets Lucha out to more people?
Right.
What if 5 years from now Lucha is playing like Madison Square Garden,
Right.
or it is nationwide TV or globally, and the all night long match and everything we did in season 1 and everything that you're about to see.
Helped establish it, and then season 2 just like reinforces it.
Yeah, and there's something priceless too about having that cool vibe about it. That it's actually a cool
Underground,
place.
literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I finally got out to like a pro wrestling guerrilla show a month ago.
Those tickets are hard to get.
For the first time. I was out in LA.
What's harder to get? Those or Hamilton tickets?
Probably. I mean, Hamilton you can get, but you have to wait about a year.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like pro wrestling guerrilla, you just can't get. But
Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, the hardest ticket in town.
It is. But the reason that I bring it up was because it was the first time that I had heard the vibe of the people waiting outside the building was like, oh, this is your first show? Oh, have you been to a Lucha show live? Like the Lucha tapings, the TV tapings are becoming this sort of,
They're
smart
like cult following,
indie.
like super crazy people. There's some people that are there every single week. I don't know how they have this ticket access, but I'm just like, oh, it's you again. Like, but they just love it. Like they can't even.
And there's also other people that try every week to get tickets and can't.
It's because that one guy just won't leave his seat.
Yeah.
Like he's like, this is my spot. Like
that guy with the John Morrison shirt or the Mundo glasses.
Yes, there's this one fan that's like his estranged son. I don't know. Like it's just he looks like you
or younger
like
brother,
you.
but he somehow he's got those tickets every week.
Every week.
Do they try to move him? Because it's like otherwise we don't
he
need you
moves around
sitting
the
in this
arena.
seat. Okay, good.
He moves around the arena, but he's still yelling at him and waving. And,
I love it. I love that he's there. I wish everybody
you always
would,
you always go.
I wish everyone would buy my T-shirt and glasses. Come on, right?
Do you like? I was watching too. Like some of your like the thing about doing it in the venue that you do it in with as few people as get to go is it gets quiet at spots and people kind of do sit and watch quietly, and then when something big happens, it erupts. How do you like wrestling in the quiet?
Nobody likes wrestling in quiet.
Yeah,
I don't. But I feel like the temple has become one of my favorite places to work because if you were watching season 1 and you saw the quiet, as the season progressed and certainly into season 2, I mean, Taya comes out, everyone knows who she is. Spoiler alert a little bit. But the crowd is chanting immediately. They know all the characters. They know who everybody is. And the energy in the temple, especially now after the season 1 has been on TV, has grown exponentially. And there's far less quiet, and the crowd is just really passionate and invested.
It's not even necessarily a bad quiet though. It's like a kind of like
they're actually watching.
Right,
you know
we're watching like there's bated
they're
breath.
waiting. They're like waiting
Yes.
for it,
Yes.
because those crazy moments when they just absolutely freak out. Yeah, like my first time in the temple. I won't say too much, but it was just like I couldn't even. I think I had like this ridiculous smile on my face. Like we saw a picture earlier today, and
He
he's
totally
like,
did.
He's like, "You look so happy," and I was like, "Yes," because I was just so excited because I've been hearing about this and working so hard
for season 1,
I
and
was
now
like,
I'm finally
here. No, it was just like such a crazy moment for me, and like the crowds and stuff just reminded me so much of those intimate crowds we get in Mexico sometimes,
Right.
That are so they're fanatics, you know what I mean? And they know everything. They knew everything who I was. They knew about my history. They knew about everything. And I was just like, this is insane.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, how did they know when you came on? So they're not just weird, diehard Lucha Underground fans.
No, they're
like,
Lucha Libre
Lucha
fans.
Libre
And I mean,
fans.
I have, I've been in Mexico working with Los Perros del Mal and Lucha Libre AAA now for almost 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the first ever foreign women's champion, the longest running women's champion. I've accomplished a lot of stuff and like broken down a lot of barriers that might have been put up for me because I'm not Mexican.
Right.
And so I think that I have a different kind of appeal, and I bring a different package. I look different. I wrestle differently because I'm a combination of styles. And like the people that are true lucha fans will be fans of AAA as well. So it was really a natural transition for me.
And is that something where Lucha Underground fans kind of found AAA, or is it just a shared?
You know what? I really
base?
think that with Lucha Underground, we got more people gave it like we're paying attention to AAA,
right?
Because I know in social media and different things, a lot of people have reached out from all over the world now that are researching what is AAA and getting excited about what Lucha Libre is, and it's really like taken off, and I'm so proud to be part of it. So. What
do you think of, I mean, there's a trend now. It happens, I think, somewhat in Mexico, and it's happened here and there a little bit in Lucha Underground, but intergender wrestling, where it's men and women competing against each other.
Well, in Mexico, the women wrestle men, exoticos, minis, anything. Do you know what I mean? Like anything that's been any competitor that's been in front of us, we are allowed to wrestle them. There's no sort of stereotype kind of stuff like that, or people believing that a woman can't find a man,
right? And
I truly believe that that's like something we're seeing as women in sports in general are being lifted up, and we're being seen for like the athletes that we really are, and not just arm candy or different things like that. I'm in there beating up the guys and getting beat up by them,
right?
But this is like what I want to do, and this is what like I'm proving that a woman can be as strong as them, if not stronger.
So you like that it's opening up that way?
Oh yeah, I think it's great
because that's become a huge thing on the American independence. Is like every show now.
Yeah, that's just a transition, a natural transition in the sport, and I think that we should be allowed to wrestle in the main events. We should be allowed to go up against the guys. We've been training just as hard, if not harder, and we're also fighting the fact that people think, oh, she's just a girl.
Right.
She can't do anything. Well, I don't know. You better watch some Lucha Underground season 2 and figure out that we're just as tough as they are.
Have you wrestled any women, John?
In Lucha Underground, you're right. No, like I won't
There's
specifically
no limits.
Play it out, but that's the idea, is to empower every person on the roster, and that every luchador in Lucha Underground is equal. And I know it's a hot topic because like in certain cultures, men wrestling women is frowned upon. I know that
well, yeah, it almost starts to like people start making ties to domestic violence and things like that, and you're like, I don't
exactly, but like I think that's a closed-minded view,
right?
And if you look at this is Lucha Libre, this is professional wrestling as an art form. If you've got domestic violence or something like that in the back of your head, I feel like that's your own issue.
And wouldn't that be like comparing straight men's pro wrestling to assault?
Yeah,
like, wouldn't that be
literally,
like,
exactly. That's
just two guys assaulting each other.
Yeah.
We can't watch this,
right?
Yeah,
and it seems like closed-minded
I think it makes
and silly.
People, it makes certain people uncomfortable. But I'm putting myself in that position.
Right.
I'm the one that trained and busted my butt to get to where I am. So I want the same opportunity as any guy or any girl or
And ultimately, I think wrestling is about giving the crowd what they want. And if you listen to the crowd at Lucha Underground, and they're
speaks for itself.
Chanting "Wera Loca" or Ivelisse or "Sexy Star,"
right?
That's what the crowd wants.
Right. That is. Were you surprised to see Alberto Del Rio head back to WWE?
Yeah,
you were.
Yeah, wasn't everybody?
Yeah, I was surprised.
So fast.
That just happened out of nowhere. Like,
It did.
I was shocked. I mean, I was texting back and forth, and like we were talking about Lucha Underground. We worked in Mexico a couple times.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I was like on a flight, and I saw like something on
day,
Twitter
like,
that Alberto Del Rio just beat John Cena for the title. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Where did that
He's still
go?
a AAA champion? Like,
yeah, he took the Mega Champion belt with him.
Yeah. So you didn't? Did you think he would be back eventually
To
WWE? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna do season 2 together, but
Nope.
I figured eventually he would go back. I mean, at the end of the day, I look at it as this. Pro wrestling is really hard on the performers, the pro wrestlers, the luchadoras, and anytime a performer is in a position to do something good for themselves and make money, I'm always happy to see that happen. And I think Alberto made a good deal for himself and is doing well, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah. Is that still? I remember you saying before you filmed season 2, you said that you would like to eventually go back to WWE. Is that still something? Is that still how you feel?
It's something that's always like, when I was a kid, I grew up watching WrestleMania and dreaming of it.
Mm-hmm.
And as the longer I'm staying with Lucha, the more I'm kind of hoping that at some point the Ultima Lucha becomes like a WrestleMania, and maybe that could be what I was dreaming of when I was a kid, and it ends up being a main event of Ultima Lucha and Arena Mexico or some huge stadium somewhere.
Yeah.
But wrestling is a crazy business, and you can never predict the future 100%.
Right. No, it's you just go where you go. Sometimes you're getting a developmental deal. Sometimes you're in Mexico. Sometimes you're winning tough enough. Sometimes
you're just all over the
losing
place.
over 4 years.
Taking the developmental deal back, and you're in a bingo hall in Ulitic, and you're getting chopped by Bob Holly.
Is there anybody, because you've wrestled a lot since leaving WWE. Like I think I saw you wrestled Jushin Liger in Jersey, right, for PWS?
Yeah. Elijah Burke and Jushin Liger, 2 nights in a row, 2 legends.
Yes, yeah.
It was I've had the opportunity to wrestle so many like talented people from so many different organizations. Jushin Liger, Gabriel Angel Fire in a bar in Amsterdam, Christian Rose, Will Ospreay, Noam Dar, like both super talented. I got to wrestle AJ Styles like a week and a half ago in the UK.
It's great watching every like indie wrestler I know's Facebook page get updated with pictures of them wrestling AJ Styles.
It's the cool thing. It's the trending topic right now. AJ Styles, you know.
Kevin Steen, I got to wrestle before they changed his name, and he showed up on Raw. Like it's been cool. I feel like my career has been reversed in a lot of ways than most pro wrestling trajectories.
Yeah,
because I mean, with WWE, and now I've been like having this like awesome like independent wrestling career, and I feel like I found a home again now with Lucha Underground. Are
there any dream matches that you have like that are realistic?
Man, well, it'd be awesome to wrestle that Johnny Nitro guy.
Just wrestle yourself.
Talented.
Sick.
It was BlackBerry and everything.
Yeah. Let's see. I haven't had the chance to wrestle Phoenix. And I think he's one of the most talented luchadors I've ever seen. I'd love to have the chance to have like an awesome, like really long match with him. I mean, Macho Man was always my dream match.
Yeah,
that can happen.
You're definitely gonna win that one, though. He's not fighting back.
I should maybe do that actually, just for just to say I did it. Right?
Check it off the list.
Is that breaking any laws? Maybe not. And Shawn Michaels was another one. And I never got to have a sweet singles match with him. I had a couple tags, and it felt like the Miz and Morrison versus DX was kind of it, but it would have been cool to have the sweet like WrestleMania match against HBK
1-on-1.
Yeah.
Well, you won the ECW championship under the weird Chris Benoit circumstances,
right?
When he before anybody knew what had happened, he just disappeared, and he was supposed to be in the ECW title match. You took his spot.
Yeah. So like that, that whole day, like it was supposed to be Benoit versus Punk,
right? And
then like Benoit didn't show up, and like 3 hours later, they're like, "Well, what are we gonna do? Chris isn't here. Like, we're gonna have to either replace him. Who's on ECW?" And they're like, "Oh, Morrison and Kevin Thorne, one of those two." And then like for like 2 hours, I was like, "Oh, please don't show up, Chris." And then also, please let it be me and not Kevin Thorne. Please let it be me. And he ended up not showing up. I ended up winning. I was super excited and happy. And then when we found out what happened, I felt like the biggest douchebag in the world.
Yeah, for being like, "Oh, I hope he doesn't show up."
Yeah,
I wish
it was really crappy.
What he was doing.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it is
a tragic,
what it is.
Crappy situation.
I was wondering though, like, why, if the main event, right, is Benoit and Punk, and they're like, okay, we have to replace Benoit. Was Punk that much not like that they weren't going to put the title on him? They're just like, we just got to find somebody to put the title on.
I think it was in wrestling mentality. I think what they had in mind was if we're going to replace somebody, and then the replacement gets beat, it seems like less. But if the replacement goes over, maybe it'll trick the fans into thinking like, "Oh my God, like we got a bonus."
Yeah, how lucky are we?
Instead of someone no showing. I think that had something to do with it. And I think at the time they had in mind they wanted Punk to be champion, but not immediately.
Like bring you in, you're a bad guy at the time, and that way at least there's still a chase.
Yeah.
That Punk can chase the title, and you're like, okay, I'll be the champion.
Who would ever say no to that?
I know, it's amazing. It's great.
I mean, that's usually the first thing I bring up most places.
Yeah.
Hey, I got an idea. Why don't I become chef?
Why not put the title on me? That could work.
Am I crazy here, or do you guys agree? What?
What's it like living in Mexico? Because I get scared of Mexico. I've never been to Mexico.
Well, obviously, when I first got there, I did not speak Spanish.
Say something in Spanish.
Ya no quiero hablar en español.
Oh.
Tengo que hablar en español todos los días de la semana, ¿ok? Vamos a hablar en inglés.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right.
No, I had to learn Spanish. It was like a total like imagine me like tall, platinum blonde hair and walking around Mexico City where I'm just like an Amazon freak because everyone's short. No, it was such a culture shock for me because it's a very different world.
Yeah.
But honestly, living in Mexico City is very safe. It's just like anywhere. If you're going to go and find trouble and walk around the worst neighborhood, something's going to happen to you. The same thing in Mexico. That can happen in Vancouver. That can happen in Toronto. That can happen here. That can happen in LA.
I just feel like the only press Mexico gets is
It's
about
bad press,
cartels.
yeah.
I'm just worried that there's just cartels
No,
everywhere,
it's not
beheadings
like that.
everywhere you
no,
go.
There's no one playing soccer with heads in the street. Like,
There
that's
isn't.
Just, no,
All
that's,
right.
Do you ever see Sean Penn down there?
Ha 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 ha. Sensitive subject right now. That is. No, everyone has a really I remember when I first moved there, my mom was like, "You're gonna get kidnapped and all this stuff's gonna happen." And then when I told her that Perro told me, to stay and stuff, she's like, "Have you seen the movie Taken? Like this might happen to you."
That's Mexico, right?
Yeah, like, what? I don't know. But no, it's just honestly, I've been very lucky. I have a lot of people that protect me, and nothing bad has happened to me. Knock on wood. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah.
But
I would assume now after 4 years, you probably kind of understand the lay of the land.
Yeah, and I know how to respond to people, and I'm very outspoken and direct, and people don't necessarily like that coming from a woman because it is a society that's based a lot on machismo, as they like to say. But I mean, I think that people have accepted me for my crazy ways, and that's why they call me La Güera Loca, the crazy blonde girl.
Yeah.
So I feel really good there. That's where my life is right now, and we'll see what happens next. But
I just get so worried because I'm sure it's just because I've watched too many Datelines where they're
yeah.
like,
And
I got into a cab and then it just pulled over in the middle of nowhere and took my money and left me.
And all these people are getting, things are happening to them in Acapulco or these touristy places.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that stuff doesn't really happen. It's just anywhere though. I mean, in a country that has millions, in Mexico City, there's 22 million people. So I mean, just based on the population alone, you're going to expect bad stuff to happen.
To some of them.
Yeah.
There's too many people.
There's too many people, but that's just anywhere. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people, bad things happen.
Right, you can't have good news for 22 million people.
Yes, there's gonna be always
news
stuff.
is bad news anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you go look on. I've been watching the news here, and it's just it seems like it's always bad news. So
Yeah, that's true.
I try to speak as
especially politics
positively
lately.
as positively as
We don't need to touch
possible.
on that, though.
Like if you're outside, if you live outside the States, you must think it's a disaster here.
I think
really good point.
I think that if you watch any news from any country, you're probably like, God, that sucks over there.
Right, I'm never going.
There's
that's what just
fires
like
and floods in the States and
that's why
California.
they think everyone in Mexico is playing soccer with heads, and there's
It's a good
drugs
point.
being
And,
sold on the corner everywhere, and I don't know what.
It's supposed to be the biggest blizzard in history in New York right now, right?
And where is the
Right.
blizzard?
everyone's like, you're going where? To New York?
It's 40
degrees out there.
It
It's
snowed
warm
on
and
Saturday.
there's dirty
It's-
snow and slush.
Right.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have boots? Do you have Timberlands? You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll
No,
be-
I got some free moccasins.
I brought my snowboard boots.
He
and
brought
They were
snowboarding
totally
boots.
unnecessary.
He's like, look at these boots. I'm like, we don't need those.
People even fall for it who live here though. I've watched people they put the head thing on that wraps around the mouth and then the big coat with the hood, and I'm like, it hasn't snowed for 3 days. It's over.
Right.
What are you
And
doing?
it's super.
And it's I was almost
it's not even that
excited because I'm
windy.
like, I haven't seen snow in so long. Then I get here and it's just dirty snow. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's-
oh man.
Yeah, it's over.
There won't be any snowmen
not-
being built in Central Park.
No.
The snowball fight idea was not a good idea.
No,
it's
because
all-
you'd probably throw rocks at me.
Well, it'd just be frozen dirt, probably.
Yeah, gross.
Wet.
Yellow and brown snow. It's not good.
Ew.
It's not good at all. You've talked before about the freedom you have in Lucha Underground, which was surprising to me to hear about it because it's so much more of a TV show than any other wrestling promotion. I would think from an outsider's perspective that everything has to be finally we're doing this and that and this and that. The same way a TV show, it's literally word for word scripted. There's no freedom on a sitcom set.
They
right?
allow us to be very creative, I find. That
Agreed.
was one thing when I came onto the show, I was like, wow, they really support our ideas and allow us to be vocal about how we want to do things or how we want to portray our characters, and you know what I mean? They allow us to do that.
And along with what you're saying, a lot of the creative collaboration, it has to happen before before the vignettes are shot or before like the matches. Like you can talk about who you want to be, how you want your character to talk, interact. But you're right, it is a TV show, and the way the vignettes are shot are like a TV show with coverage, and you can't
They're
just
crazy.
say different stuff all the time.
No.
It's
But for the matches, I find that you can be very creative.
The matches too, I feel like there's no metaphorical handcuffs, so to speak.
Right.
Like a lot of times other organizations are very protective over certain things, like, oh, the announce table is only for the main event, like on the pay-per-view. And
Right.
so that's only like reserved for certain people. And sometimes in Lucha, because I feel like I'm like kind of like one of those people that could do that. It'd be nice to have that reserved, but what happens is
You're just gonna become a monster. Like no,
yeah, like
the
That's
announce
for me.
table's
That's
for
for me to
Mundo.
go
Everybody stay away from the announce table. It's Mundo's announce table.
Yeah.
But what happens is everyone does it, and it forces you to think of different creative ideas and different ways to use the whole environment.
Like
And-
everywhere, from like the rafters to the floor. It's, like,
to the
crazy.
office, to the bandstand, and when I say that they're more receptive to stuff, like there's something in episode 2 that we needed to do something where one of the jib is the camera jib.
Sure.
Might have been a little dicey, and it just took a little convincing, and we were allowed to
Just let us
do
do
it.
it,
Basically,
please. Let us.
Trust me, it'll be good.
Trust me.
Yeah.
And then
All right.
afterwards, you're like, you guys are insane. Like,
Right.
what's wrong with you?
and until we knock over the jib and it falls in the crowd, we're fine.
Yeah.
That is amazing though. That's got to be like a huge kind of 360 for your brain to go through, where somebody's like, no, these are the performers. These are the ones that have been doing it in interacting with the crowds. They actually do know what works.
Right.
You know,
And-
for you to start to develop that confidence, that couldn't have come like naturally, because I would have like WWE or other organizations or whatever it is. Generally speaking, when there's a guy who's controlling everything, it's
Right.
you don't have this confidence of I know exactly what we need to do because you've never been put in that position.
And it took me a while with WWE to realize that like I didn't have to be walking on eggshells all the time, and if I had ideas, I could just pitch them, because that organization, just like every organization, at the end of the day, wants to have the coolest show possible.
Right.
But first, the culture in Lucha Underground is such that it doesn't feel like people are walking on eggshells. It feels like anyone can have the idea, and anyone
Yeah,
can go
definitely.
to me or to Krista Joseph or Anthony or Eric or Vampiro or Chavo and say like, hey, let's do this.
So do you think people over there in WWE have to walk on eggshells, or people think that they, because you just said it took me a while to realize I didn't have to walk on
Both,
eggshells.
because when you first get there, you do.
Right. Okay.
I think that's just like anywhere.
Right. Like, well, you're the new guy. Of course, you're not going to.
And then
so
it takes you a while to realize, hey, like
I can actually-
I've been here for like 7 years.
I'm not the new guy anymore.
Like one of the oldest guys in the locker room.
Right.
Yeah, once you come to that epiphany, then you're like, you know what? I want to start jumping off stuff.
Yeah.
Then you can
Then you can
have
start
that
jumping.
conversation.
Off.
Yeah.
I see. It's very, very interesting. Well, listen, if anybody hasn't seen Lucha Underground, I would check it out. You know, everybody says about finding competition for WWE and finding whatever's next and finding what's not stale. It's like, you know, they say that people just need to do something different in pro wrestling, and Lucha Underground is that. It's the different thing. It hasn't been done before. And, you know, it's also, I don't want to say it's adult oriented, because
No,
it's not
totally.
like
I
it's super, but it's
I agree with you. It's like it feels like the evolution of wrestling. It's got
Yeah.
this action film feel combined with lucha, combined with American pro wrestling, and it is more adult. I mean, we're not catering to 6-year-old kids.
right.
We're catering to wrestling fans, people that enjoy seeing something different, and that's why I feel like it's.
But it's not
such
like-
a tight package.
It is. It's because it's not like shock like stuff that like, oh, this is they're pushing the envelope too far. It's more like you're putting on a product that you would expect an adult to take seriously.
Yeah,
You're
most
more
definitely.
sophisticated,
Right.
wrestling
Yeah.
fan.
yes. It's more
You
sophisticated.
sip your Chardonnay while you watch Lucha Underground.
Yes.
well,
Okay,
everybody,
no one's really doing that. But
well, they might.
Cabernet, that's me.
That's it. Everybody should be watching Lucha. It's back for season 2. It's on El Rey.
Tomorrow's the debut, season 2 debut.
Yes. It's gonna be very, very exciting. And you can also catch up on a lot on YouTube.
Yes.
Do you like that people just upload so much of it to YouTube?
A lot of it is actually uploaded to the El Rey Network YouTube channel.
Right.
And I do enjoy that channel more than the random uploads because the full matches are usually contained.
Yeah.
Sometimes
because sometimes they're just clips, and that can get
that's
annoying.
always frustrating, and sometimes the quality's low.
Right.
So check out
Right.
the El Rey Network YouTube channel, but
Yes.
also they're running a marathon of Lucha on the El Rey Network. And like you just said, Season 2 is starting Wednesday. It's every Wednesday night on the El Rey Network at 8 p.m.
Awesome. Well, check it out.
Please.
Johnny Mundo.
Chingoncísimo. That means something cool in Spanish.
And Taya. Thank you both.
Thank you so much for having us.
So much for
and
being here.
yeah, everyone, please, start watching every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on
Yeah.
El Rey Network.
There it is. Thanks, guys. Hey, it's Sam Roberts. I hope you enjoyed that wrestling interview from Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast. You can go to notsam.com to subscribe to that podcast. But I upload videos like that on this YouTube channel all the time. So if you don't already subscribe now. It's on the side of the page. I made it real easy. Click the button. Subscribe to the page. Subscribe to the page.